Good morning, this is Jeff from Charting the Markets, and this is the pre-market webinar for the morning of Friday, the 10th of July. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my tactical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing and learn from it, transfer your own charts. I'm not here to shoot trading signals. This is a video for paying subscribers at chartingthemarkets.substack.com. It's published on YouTube after 24 hours, delay of 24 hours. Now, we've obviously we've come back and almost failed this head and shoulder, this double top that broke down the other day. RTY, we had is that a head and shoulders or a double top? I think that's actually a head and shoulders. You can read it either way. I'm going to treat it as a double top. So this hasn't failed yet, but might be on the way to it. YM, we had a buy signal, and that's reached the possible near miss target. Could be forming a head and shoulders here, but I've got a theory. Now, we've had this whole weekend warrior thing for a while where negotiations have been announced on Sunday evening, an hour before they open or something. But I'm thinking that might be for Sunday and Monday, or Monday, and I'm wondering whether negotiations will be announced again. Everyone's being pretty polite about the latest rendition of the war. The Iranians are politely not bombing refineries in the rest of the Gulf. The Americans have been relatively polite as well. I think that both sides are assuming they may be negotiating soon. I'm wondering whether that's going to start on Sunday and possibly deliver us our retest of the high here on SPX. Why haven't we already done the high retest on SPX? Well, we haven't done it because of NQ. NQ has been relatively a lot weaker. And this is obviously, a lot of that is carried through into SPX. We've been seeing new highs on RTY, we've been seeing new highs on YM, but we have not been seeing new highs on SPX ES or NQ, and that's because NQ is looking pretty weak here. Now, this may well be an overall bull flag. I'll be looking more at that over the weekend, but I'm wondering if negotiations breaking out again might actually tip SPX over the top and maybe NASDAQ as well. In terms of the buy signals we had at the low, the RTY one made target, the YM one made target overnight, at least the possible near miss target. We didn't get a buy signal on DAX or STX, and Nikkei, we had a buy signal, and after a period of trouble, that has broken up and made the target. We've also got a little inverted head and shoulders here on Nikkei, which is broken up with a target in the 71,900 area. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. And ES, we are now confidently back over the daily middle band, which did not break. So if we are going to see a retest of the high, this wouldn't be a bad place to see it. Seeing the same thing on SPX, where we saw a retest of a back test of the daily middle band and the 50 DMA at the low. In terms of the hourly chart, nothing to see. In terms of the 15-minute chart, not a lot to see on here either, although we do have still an open RSI 5 sell signal on the 15-minute, which I wouldn't obviously hang a major trade on or anything. In terms of the Qs, these have been the weakest, but we actually managed to get back over the daily middle band yesterday after a fairly aggressive test of the 50 DMA, which involved the break below for a day. On the hourly chart, no current divergence. It's not quite true. We've got a little RSI 5 sell signal brewing, and we've got sell signals fixed on. We've got a sell signal fixed on the 15-minute RSI 14 as well. Might see a little pullback with that this morning. We're only marginally up on the futures. On Dire, we never got close to the daily middle band, but I am wondering about a possible test in the not distant future of this rising wedge support, which I've currently got in the 517 area. So we will see whether we get that. All right, let's have a look at IWM. IWM on the daily chart, we actually made it back to the daily middle band, and we broke down below it, and we broke the rising support slightly. You can see that on the 15-minute chart. We've also got an open 15-minute RSI 14 sell signal, nothing on the hourly chart, but I am wondering whether soon we might be going down, but I am wondering about a retest of the high. But I would say we've got head and shoulders here, which broke down. That's got a target in the 247 area, and that hasn't failed yet. So we could still turn down towards that target. In terms of DAX, did we recover back over the daily middle band? We did, marginally, but nonetheless back over. May well build on that to see another small retest of the high. This still wondering about a possible high retest on Nikkei, but here we are still below the daily middle band. And we've we're testing this very nice looking rising megaphone support. Now it could be that we're going to head back up and hit megaphone resistance again, but if that breaks, then that's going to start looking interesting in terms of a topping setup. All right, looking at DX, this still looks like a bull flag forming. That hasn't really moved. In terms of the other currencies, USD still looks like a bear flag forming. GBP USD has been stronger than I expected, really. We've got a new Prime Minister now, and I think people are feeling a bit optimistic about that. Maybe that's feeding into it. USD JPY still hasn't retested this high. Obviously, this high was a big retest, but this would just be a relatively small one. I think we're waiting for the dollar to show signs of life in all probability. Still looks like a bull flag on USD CAD. Still looks like a bear flag on Australian dollar. Looking less like a bear flag on NZ. Not sure what's happening here. Possible we could be forming an IHS, but it wouldn't be a high quality one. All right, looking at ZB, we saw these buy signals which had fixed. ZB went up a little and made the possible near miss target here and made the full target on ZN. On ZN, we've now actually got a weak 6 minute sell signal fix. I think this was a weak source bounce, and we're probably going to resume the downtrend. We shall see. Right, looking at Brent and WTIC. We have we could be forming an inverted head and shoulder, right shoulder here. So I'm waiting with interest to see what happens here, because my theory is that we may be back in negotiations next week, and if that's the case, we could see a retest of the low. There are two possible inverted head and shoulder, head and shoulder patterns forming here. There's a possible inverted head and shoulders, which actually isn't bad, and a possible head and shoulders here, which actually isn't bad either. We will see how that goes, but I am wondering if overall from the high this is a flag, and I would say that if this is a head and shoulders, it would have already broken down and already failed, and that would be suggesting a retest of the high. So I'm wondering whether we might actually make a retest of this high today, and might make a second top of second high of a double top here, which could then set up a low retest. To set up in all probability a larger double bottom. So that could be delivered if we go back into negotiations. But to be honest, obviously I can't actually see the future. So that's very much open to question. We do have a nice looking little double bottom here, which is broken up and could be failing or could get us back up. Another buck and a half from the low. So maybe $3. That could get us a long way back up into the retest of this high. We'll see whether we get it. All right, looking at the others, we made the possible near miss target on Brent on the hourly sell signal. Hourly sell signal also reached the possible near miss target on CL, HO. We didn't have a signal, but we saw a nice little retracement, which is being partially rallied back through. And gas oil, we had a nice move up, and we made the inverted head and shoulder target, and we've seen a nice retracement back to the monthly pivot. This would be an obvious place to go back and retest the high from. What I would say is, if we see a lot of escalation over the weekend, which I'm doubtful about, then we could see another breakup, and that IHS on Brent might be worth looking at. Chart of the day today, I'm just going to show this to you. This is the US strategic petroleum reserves, which incredibly weren't significantly refilled before this war started, which was just amazingly short-sighted. But this is we are here on the strategic petroleum reserves, or at least we were about 3 days ago. This line here is what everyone thinks is the estimated minimum operating level, or a tanker bottoms, below which you start getting pick up a lot of sludge, and it's difficult to access the reserves below it. Now, we've never actually got to tanker bottom before, so this is speculative, and we could find there's some more, but we are within days of reaching it. A week, 10 days, 2 weeks maybe, and partially this is because these reserves haven't just been used for the US, they're also going out to the world. And they've only been going down at about 1 million barrels a day, but I mean, it's a significant million barrels a day, and we are close to it. If this is the case, and if we are reaching tank minimum operating levels here, then the US is going to have to stop exporting from this, which is in effect what it's been doing, and shortages may become much worse across the world. The other thing to say here is because of the very successful Ukrainian bombing campaign, Russia's actually stopped selling diesel internationally, and of course, with US, it was the largest diesel exporter into the world market. We may well be starting, not in the US. The US has enough to feed its own gasoline and diesel requirements. We may actually be seeing diesel fails across the world and shortages, which of course is going to cause a lot of trouble because mostly things get around on trucks at night on diesel. Particularly in Europe. So I'm wondering how long this is going to take to feed through into actual shortages of goods in supermarkets. We shall see. But things are getting awkward, and this is another reason I'm thinking that negotiations may be starting again at the weekend. NG, we've got a possible weak 6-minute buy signal brewing. We had a sharp retrace yesterday, and we actually made it back to the retest of this May low. I'm leaning towards this going a little lower, but that actually was a significant target, which has already been made. We shall see. But we were consolidating, waiting for direction. This was direction. GC, we had a buy signal that made target. This still kind of looks like a bull flag. We haven't seen the retest of the low, and that's because so far we haven't seen really serious trouble on oil or the war. We've seen a resumption of hostilities, but it's a relatively polite one so far. SI, bear flag breaking down still. Palladium, maybe a bear flag breaking down, but of course both of these may be turning into larger bear flags and go higher within those. Platinum, this looks like a bear flag forming as well, much more than the double bottom, which was a possibility here. HG, this kind of looks like a bear flag as well. So we will see. KC, we made a lower high here. The sell signal failed here. Sorry, I've got the wrong kind of arrow here. And that failed, and we didn't get another one. But I'm wondering about a flag forming and possibly going lower within that. Maybe see a back test of 300. Looking at SB, nice looking potential topping action here. 60-minute sell signal hasn't reached the possible near miss target yet. CC, we've now got a 60-minute sell signal fixed, and I'm wondering about some retracement. Lumber looks much less like a bear flag, but we have actually got a possible 60-minute sell signal brewing now. CT, this looks very, very much like a bear flag megaphone. So it doesn't necessarily have to be. Some flags break up, but at the moment it's a flag and it's not broken up. So 70% odds it breaks down. Wheat, we've actually got a double bottom, which is starting to break up this morning. So watching that with interest. On corn, seen as sharp retracement, and we're on a weak 6-minute buy signal now. Soy, wondering about a retest of the high. So cotton's kind of standing out from the pack in the opposite direction at the moment. On ZL, we've got a small double bottom which is broken up with a target in the 70.33 area, and this looks like a small bull flag forming. Live cattle, not a double bottom here because we didn't quite retest the low, and that's why we haven't got any positive divergence either. But I am wondering about bottoming action here. HE still looks like a bear flag. All right, great. No questions. My pleasure as always, Doug. Any time you got something to ask, just ask. I'll have a look at it. It doesn't take long. And actually, that's a really interesting channel on Tesla. I think I'll probably post that as the chart of the day on Monday. Because that is interesting. Because I think I'm hoping to see high retests on SPX and NDX next week, but I am wondering if we're going to see a large decline after that, and that Tesla one could actually deliver very nicely in that. All right, great. In that case, I think that's a wrap. Everyone take care, and I'll catch you guys again on Monday. All right, cheers. Oh, look out. I'm going to get out at least one post on oil out today, and I'm hoping to get another one out on equities as well, even though it's very hot. All right, cheers, guys.